Hey guys, I'm Chad Robichaux, and welcome to the Mighty Oak Show. Today we have with here in the studio is JP Lane, U.S. Army combat veteran and a combat engineer, and a Purple Heart recipient. And we got to spend a few days together down at MCRD San Diego, Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego. It's been really great to just spend time with you and Crystal, your wife. Get to know you guys.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah. So. I want to talk before we get started into your story, which, you guys are going to be really blessed. Incredible. JP has an incredible story from his past, his time in the military, but more so what he's doing now and what God has in store for him. But I want to talk a little bit about what we was involved in first down at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, because I love going down to talk to recruits at boot camp. This was probably one of the kind of a new step for us, where we went from just speaking to the Christian spiritual resiliency group to speaking to both sides, the people that aren't Christians and also the people that are believers at boot camp. Speaking to all the recruits, we actually spoke to 3,000 recruits, and I just you got to witness it, you got to see it. JP's looking at doing the same thing at Army boot camp. And so, what's your thoughts, man? What'd you think of the experience?
It was awesome. I just feel that God obviously has you in the right spot, on the right path. Giving your testimony is always going to inspire Marines and troops all over the globe. And so being able to watch you in what you do best it was a great experience for me, being on the sidelines, getting to see how the Marines were impacted, how they took in all the information that you gave them, and on top of that, you were able to inspire them and allow them the experience of knowing who God is and what He's done in your life. And it was really cool to watch that happen. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that Marine Corps allow us to go do that and talk to them about resiliency, about being strong, not just mentally and physically, but spiritually as well, and what that means as a warrior and how to prepare them for the battles ahead. And I'm so blessed the Marine Corps opened that door up for me personally and through Mighty Oaks to do that. But man, to know that you may have the opportunity to do that in the Army is so encouraging. That to see someone, I mean, I've been just grinding at this for like 8 years. I love what I do, but some days it's just pushing and pushing and pushing, and you want to be able to spread further. And so when Rod Long, fellow Marine Rod Long, called me and told me about you and told me you thought you'd have the opportunity to do this in Army boot camp, I was like, heck yeah, man! Like somebody else to be able to expand that mission, to be able to catch these brand new, we call them recruits in the Marine Corps, privates in the Army,
privates,
right?
Yeah,
these brand new privates in the Army, and be able to bring that same message of resiliency, what true resiliency is, to the Army. And it was not even a question to have you come out and see, get that back, kind of behind the scenes look at what we do at the Marine Corps. So yeah, what's your thoughts about doing this, on the Army side?
Oh, I'm especially after learning took a bunch of notes and learned a lot during the last few days, and it made me more excited to just jump right in and get situated with the Army, so that I'll be able to do what you do, which is inspire and bring hope and knowledge about how powerful our God is, and how resilient we can be. Especially with Him by our side, we can be more powerful than we could imagine, mentally, physically, spiritually. And I can't wait to bring that to the Army. When I was in, I actually didn't have that strong of a faith. So it wasn't until after my injuries that God was really much taller pillar in my life and really balanced out everything else the military had taught me, everything else my family, everyone had taught me previously. But until I really brought God into my life and allowed Him to build me up, I really didn't have everything going for me. And now that it's good and I'm very well based in and knowledgeable in my faith, even more so, and even stronger in my faith, it's exciting to be able to pass that along with the new recruits and everyone within the Army.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have an amazing story to tell, and definitely would love to just jump right into your story. I mean, we talk about resiliency and sharing resiliency with the Marine recruits, Army privates, or just those brand new warriors coming into the military. I don't think there's many people that are more equipped to share a story like that than you. Clearly, you're a very resilient individual to overcome, what you've overcome. And I was on the phone with my wife and talking to my wife about you, and then Matt Height, who you met today. When I was talking to him about you last night, I'm like, man, I'm hanging out with this guy JP, and his injuries are just, from Afghanistan were just crazy. But this guy's like full of joy, and he's like loves Jesus, and he's happy, and he's just motivated to share positive things with. I mean, a lot of people that get injured the way you did, I mean, let's be honest, they're angry and they're bitter, and I'm sure you've had to fight with that and have a resiliency within yourself to find the joy that you have and have that positive outlook that you have, and to the point that now you want to share it.
Right.
And so if you could share with us, I don't know where to begin with your story, but I don't know wherever you want to start, but let's hear about your time in Afghanistan and what journey it took you to where you are today.
So I really like to tell people from the start, everybody, including yourself, joined the military for a certain reason, right? Whether it may be education, to follow in the footsteps of family members, or personal gain, or actual just wanting to fight for our country. For me, it was 9/11. I actually watched the Twin Towers fall while I was in 8th grade in my language arts class, and that's when I told myself that when I'm old enough, I'm going to join the Army and I'm going to fight, and hopefully, God willing, do everything I can to prevent that from ever happening again. So I joined in 2008, and I joined as a combat engineer. I went to the recruiter's office and I asked, hey, what's the most dangerous job right now that I could do? And they said, do you want to go search for bombs? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a blast. So I went ahead, signed up.
The blast, no pun intended.
Yeah,
right?
no pun intended.
Yeah.
And so 2 years after signing up and joining, I was very impatient, but they finally deployed me to Afghanistan with my unit, the 428th Engineer Company out of Wausau, Wisconsin. And we deployed to Afghanistan, I believe, in October of 2010. And that was our job, route clearance. We would search for the bombs every single morning, all day long. We'd be searching for IEDs in dirt roads, and we were the first ones out. So before any other convoy or anyone could go on their missions for the day, we would be the first ones out to make sure the routes were cleared, everything was good to go for them to even be able to travel. So obviously doing that job, we were the ones normally getting blown up. So while I was there in Afghanistan, I was blown up 3 separate times. The first one, I like to tell people, actually the first 2, were kind of fun. And I say that because I'm a little crazy. Combat engineers, we normally are crazy. Yeah. And so what's funny is when the first IED blast went off, our truck went up, it came back down, missing a few pieces. Everybody inside the truck was okay. So in my mind, I was like, well, I could do this all day. I mean, this was almost like a roller coaster ride. And as long as no one's getting hurt, then I'm good to go.
What kind of truck?
RG-31.
Okay.
So it's in the MRAP family, which those of you who don't know what that is, it's not a Humvee. A lot of people are like, were you in a Humvee? And thank God I wasn't, because I wouldn't be here today.
Right. That wouldn't have been a roller coaster in a Humvee.
No, that wouldn't have been a roller coaster. These are much bigger, stronger, up-armored trucks. And the bed of these trucks have the shape of a V, so that when an IED explodes, it goes up and out. And so the people inside the truck weren't really injured because of that. So that was always the case. Multiple blasts that my unit was in, and previous units that were deployed there as well. The same thing was happening over and over. My second IED blast I was in, same thing. The truck gets blown up, goes up, comes back down, pieces missing, and everybody was okay. So again, I'm thinking we're invincible. We have no issues going on. Nobody's getting severely hurt. And we're golden. This is a piece of cake. We're doing our job to the max, and we're killing it.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden,
you guys are finding IDs.
Yeah, left and right,
and preventing the guys in the Humvees or other softer vehicles from hitting them. You're saving other soldiers and Marines, civilians every day, right?
Yeah, every day.
Yeah,
that was our job. Make sure our military brothers and sisters in arms were safe and sound, no matter where they traveled, and even the civilians in some cases, traveling around, making sure they don't hit any pressure plates, blowing up their own vehicles and so on. So, because as everyone knows, the Taliban were pretty brutal. They didn't care who was in their way. They were going to destroy everything they could. So it didn't matter if it was civilians or military. They tried to get us multiple times, but on occasions it was anyone who drove over it. Then March 26, 2011, we were feeling invincible, and all of a sudden my best friend, Justin Ross, was shot and killed by a sniper. Everything only went downhill from there. Our morale, I guess our ego too, everything just started crumbling. And even though we were still doing our job the way that we were supposed to, following every tactical operations rules and regulations, the ROE, everything, we were good to go. It just felt like pieces of us were being broken down slowly. And it wasn't until, for me, July 2nd rolls around that it was going to seal my fate of being taken out of the fight. July 2nd was a very special day. Not only was it my day off, the whole day was orchestrated in such a different way than every previous mission we've ever been on. So my platoon sergeant comes in, says, hey, we miscounted the number of troops needed for this mission because there was actually bigwigs coming through a very dangerous route that afternoon, and they needed us to cover that route, not only in the morning, which we only cleared routes once a day, multiple routes just once. That day we were clearing the route was called Route Red Stripe, and it was the most dangerous route in our entire area of operation. We had to clear it twice, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. So he's asking us, hey, do any of you want to volunteer to go on this mission? We need more troops. So of course the mall's closed. I didn't get to go shopping that day, which a lot of people laugh and they're like, oh, they had a mall in Afghanistan? No, there's no mall in Afghanistan. So I decided to volunteer and grab my gear, and I went and got on the truck. 99% of the time, my missions, I was behind the gun, up in the turret.
Right.
Or on what's called a crow machine. Crow, it's a pretty much, to describe it, it's like a joystick that operates the weapon that's sitting on top of a truck, and I have a screen in front of me and I'm sitting inside the truck. Right. So either way, I was on that or physically behind the 50 cal or whatever weapon system we had in the turret. Yes. Yeah. So I get in the turret and we head out on mission. We're all on.
You say you're in a turret this time, or?
Yeah, I was up in the turret. Okay. We get to Route Red Stripe, and the truck in front of me was blown up, hit immediately. I believe it was command det because I believe at the time I was still the last vehicle in our convoy, so it had to have been command det.
Meaning command detonation for the listeners. Somebody set it off.
Yes.
They visually watched, pick the target, set it off.
Correct. Yeah. They were waiting, and they were just deciding which truck to choose, really.
Right.
So we're going in the convoy. Truck was hit. Everybody was okay. Truck was destroyed, obviously, a little bit, and so we had to wait for a new crew and a new truck to come out, replace that crew and vehicle, and continue our mission. So everything got squared away. We continued doing our mission, continued on the other routes, and came back to cover that route later in the afternoon and make sure it was cleared one last time before the big wigs came through. And as we were coming back on Route Red Stripe the other direction, while we were gone, the Taliban had plenty of time to bury a much bigger, stronger IED in the same hole we were just blown up in that morning. So again, commandette, we're going through. They choose my vehicle, which was the last vehicle in line. Now, the cool thing is I like to rewind, because when we were trading out the new truck and the new crew from the soldiers that were in the first IED blast, my driver asked to switch spots. And then we continued mission. So now I'm no longer behind the weapon system in the turret. I'm behind the wheel, and he's behind the weapon. So we're going around, and we're back on Route Red Stripe that afternoon. And the IED that they placed in there was called a directional charged IED. So I like to explain to everyone that it's like a massive bullet this big, a big round, sitting on top of a 200-pound bomb, just ready to explode. And when that exploded, the round went straight through the truck, acting like a knife cutting through butter. And it was the first IED blast to ever penetrate an RG-31, a truck like mine in the MRAP family.
Yeah.
When it went through, it not only flipped our truck onto the side, our truck went up in the air and flipped to the side. My driver's side door, which on this truck alone weighs 500 pounds, it was found 100 meters away. My legs were amputated, my left femur snapped in half, my pelvis snapped in half, my spine dislocated from my pelvis, my right arm was snapped in half, my right middle finger was amputated, my 4 front teeth were knocked out, and everything inside my torso was destroyed except for my heart and my left lung. And at this time, I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on. Your adrenaline is pumping so hard that you don't feel any pain. So now I'm sitting there laying on top of my passenger, my truck commander, because the truck is now on the side and my body is completely snapped in half, so I have no control with my core to stay off of him. I'm laying on him with my gear, my vest on, everything, and all that weight is actually suffocating my passenger. So he's asking me, Lane, get off me, I can't breathe. And meanwhile, he's taking in, feeling my blood dripping onto his face. And the only thing I could do, because I didn't want to take all the air from his lungs and suffocate my own soldier, my own brother in arms, I pull with my left arm, whatever, I don't even know what I grabbed. I grabbed whatever I could and pulled myself up. And with my broken part of my arm, I pushed off of him so I could get my weight off of his body. And I knew that something was up with me, but I had no idea.
How bad? Right.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue. That's the only thing I saw was my pants were bloody from pretty much the mid-thigh all the way down. And I had no idea why. I had no idea what was really going on. I just knew I was messed up. And so I look at myself, make sure that at least I'm breathing, I'm okay, my thoughts are my own, everything's good. I checked on my gunner, he was perfectly fine. He was a little shaken up, obviously. It's hard not to be when you get blown up, but he was okay physically. So then I'm doing everything I can to keep myself off of the passenger, my truck commander, and as soon as I look at my legs, the adrenaline kicks out, it stops completely, and I actually fall into a coma. And so I go completely numb, and my soldiers told me at that time, that's when they grabbed me. They saw me go limp, and they grabbed me and pulled me out of the truck. It was pretty crazy because they said when they pulled me out, they had no idea what was going on with me, so they were cutting what they could off of my pants, putting tourniquets everywhere, my arm, my legs. They saw I was bleeding pretty much from everywhere, and at that time, I don't remember anything from that moment. They had pumped 6 IV bags in my body before the helicopter had even landed to pick me up. And my medic told me when they put me on the bird, they thought I died. They thought I was gone. They were like, Lane's not gonna make it. And away I flew. So that was pretty crazy. I never thought that would happen. And it was my 3rd and final blast that I went through.
You remember where they flew you to? Or like,
they had.
I mean, you didn't remember, but
yeah, that's the cool thing about reminiscing, I guess, with my troops.
Right. They
were able to tell me the pieces that were missing, and I had flown to CAF, which is Kandahar Airfield, one of the main airfields in Afghanistan in the South region, I believe. And so I went there. Then they brought me to Bagram in Germany, and then
Landstuhl maybe in Germany.
Yeah, Landstuhl in Germany, and then Walter Reed in Washington, D.C. And so as I was traveling, I actually was still overseas, not even in the States yet. It took about a week to a week and a half to get me stable enough to travel. Most of the soldiers who had gone through a similar blast or IED incident, they were already in the States within 72 hours. But I was so internally messed up that I wasn't staying stable enough to travel that long flight back to the United States. I had actually died twice on the operating table, and they were trying everything they could to keep me alive. So they got me back to Walter Reed and continued surgery after surgery. I believe to this date I've had 28 surgeries, and they counted total injuries were 26 from top to bottom that I received.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about like, I've spoken to so many guys that have, I think you're the first one that I've spoken to about this that has actually had a traumatic like amputation, meaning that, your legs were taken off, completely off during the blast. A lot of guys get mangled and eventually have to, during surgery, to take off. But I mean, that you just think about, and I'm sure you've thought about a lot more than me, and that type of blast, what kind of IED that was. It's massive IED, and your body took the full brunt of it. It's just an absolute miracle that you're alive for something that powerful to come through bottom of an MRAP and traumatically amputate both of your legs. And I'm just, to me, as someone that believes in a providential God, like God had his hand on you to protect you that day. As terrible as that situation may seem to people, like, well, how could God be involved in that? But just surviving that, and you and I both know, like, that's just a miraculous thing to live through something like that.
Yeah. To piggyback off of that, when people say, well, how do you know God was there during that moment, or was he there during that moment? I get to tell them with a smile on my face that, yeah, he was. I should have died multiple times just during the blast itself. For example, if I were to show you pictures of my truck, I shattered the windshield, which is 4 inches thick of bulletproof glass, with my head. And even wearing a helmet, the doctors said my head should have been the size of a pancake. And my favorite thing to let people know and give a perfect example of why God was there during all of it was because if he wasn't there guiding every piece of shrapnel flying around that needed to go exactly where it needed to go, I would have been dead. My foot, my right foot, and my boot were found melted to the floorboard of my truck. But yet my ankle was amputated. So now imagine, if God wasn't directing the piece of shrapnel to cut my ankle off completely, where would I have been? Stuck to my truck. They wouldn't have been able to pull me out, and they wouldn't probably even know why they weren't able to pull me out, and I would have bled out and died in the truck before they figured it out. So God knew what was going on. He had a hand in all of it. He was protecting me and giving me just the amount of strength to pull through and get through all of it that I needed with every moment that had happened. And honestly, I'm so thankful that my right ankle was amputated immediately, because I wouldn't be here today.
That's a very, for us to be talking about this, a very controversial thing. I've had and seen this discussion a lot. People that wouldn't believe in God would say, why would, loving God allow that to happen? You saying, orchestrating pieces of shrapnel flying away. And the question really isn't I think we both agree God didn't take your legs. He didn't do that to you. But could he have stopped it?
Yeah, he could have if he wanted to.
Right, he could have if he wanted to.
But why would he stop something that he could use for the greater good, for his purpose? And
that's the right answer, because I think, and I heard Dave Reber, who we both know, say this before. Sometimes God allow us. He didn't do things to us. He didn't take your legs. He didn't let us, but he'll allow us to go through things because can trust us with those situations of what we can do with it later on.
Yep.
And here you are these years later, having a platform on two metal legs, to share the truth about what God's role was and his part in your life, and the other side of that story. Right now you're blown up. Now you're in recovery. You wake up from this coma, and what's your attitude when you wake? You wake up 2 months later?
Almost a month and a half later. Yeah.
Yeah, what's your? So that's the other side of the story. What happens then when you wake up and your legs are gone? Are you mad?
Well, you would think. In fact, most troops that wake up in that situation, they have one of two reactions, or one of three, really. They're either immediately depressed and sad, or they wake up, and because the last thing they remember, which was the same in my situation, the last thing I remember was being in a war zone and being blown up. So now why am I waking up in a hospital and I'm completely covered from head to, what I thought was toe, in tubes and metal pieces and all of this stuff. So they wake up pulling tubes out of their body that they shouldn't be, or they wake up seeing all of this and they're extremely angry. They're very mad. And so a lot of people, when they ask, what was your reaction? I would tell them, well, I actually looked at myself first, and I did something that I guess I'm not sure if other people do right away or not, but I used my thoughts and the thoughts that I could hear in my mind to know that mentally I was okay. I couldn't really talk very well because I had a tracheotomy in my throat. And so at the very beginning, I wasn't able to tell people that I'm okay until they put some sort of blocking device or whatever in the trach hole, and I was able to kind of put out some words. But when I was finally able to talk, I actually looked at my dad, because he had been there and coming into the hospital room when they said he's officially waking up from his coma. And I looked at the fact that my legs were gone. I had pulled the sheet over and saw my legs were missing. I had saw that I had metal frames all around my arms and my legs, and I was all messed up. And the only thing that went through my mind was, well, I'm physically and mentally okay. I'm physically not so much okay. But I told
my stomach was cut from like,
yeah, it was cut open,
sternum to the belly button.
Yeah. I have pictures of that my dad had taken while I was in a coma and waking up, of my stomach completely cut open, almost like C-section cut open, and then as it healed, it would come back down and still had the cut over here that they put gauze in to heal up and stuff.
Your pelvis, it was broken. I mean, it's
everything was. They screwed my pelvis back together with screws. They put a metal frame around my femur and put pins through that to hold the femur together to heal. Same with my arm. So I was messed up. And the first thing that came out of my mouth to my dad was, well, this is different.
Yeah.
And it was, he kind of chuckled because that's not exactly the response they were looking for when someone just woke up from a coma and was seeing for the first time that they're a pretty messed up person physically. But I knew that, okay, my thoughts were mine. I was going to be okay. This physical thing, this is a little different. It hurts really, really bad, but eventually I'm sure that pain will subside and go away, and I'll be able to handle this. And that was my mindset waking up. So
that was the beginning of a long road, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, how long were you in the hospital?
A year.
Yeah. I mean, and and I know this from asking you, but and talking, seeing the pictures, but not only is this physical injuries, and pretty much the only thing that didn't get injured was your brain and your heart. But you had like extreme atrophy. I mean.
Yeah, I had. Well, even my brain was a little affected. I don't really mention it because it's just like whatever to me, I guess now. But my brain had been so swollen, it was pressing on my skull, and I had a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. And so because of everything that was going on up there, the doctors were preparing my parents for the worst. They were saying, hey, look, even if he does wake out of his coma, because of the trauma done to his brain that we're seeing, he's probably going to be mental. He's going to have issues. And then they obviously had to cut me open, go in and fix everything in here because everything was destroyed except for my heart and my left lung. So they had to re-pump up my right lung. And I have the scar here on my chest to prove that. And they put my intestines and everything back together with this stitching that dissolves over time, which is cool. It's pretty crazy and amazing, the medical stuff that they've come up with to heal us and put us back together. But people always like to be like, well, that's science. No, it's not science. It's actually just ideas that God has given the human thought. Just like he's given me ideas that I would have never come up with on my own to do what I'm doing and have been doing. So he's given the doctors and the nurses and everybody in the medical field the ideas of technology and progression on medical healing and all of that stuff. And that's what helped put me back together today.
Yeah.
So
that's absolutely amazing. And one of the things I was sharing with someone yesterday is, as I said, man, JP is just full of joy and he loves God and he's just on fire. I said they, took his legs, but they didn't take your spirit. And, so, I'm definitely a miss for them. But now you're doing, lots of amazing things with serving other warriors and bringing that hope and inspiration to the next generation of warriors. And through that, I want to talk a little bit about that, but also it's kind of, I think, a really cool part of what you're doing now is this has kind of led you or inspired you to get into music.
Yeah.
Right. And so tell us a little bit about that and maybe some of the places you got to play.
Yeah.
You get some pretty big gigs right out. I think your first gig was your biggest one, right?
Yeah, so far, one of the biggest for sure. It's really cool because I try to encourage people, whether they're babies in their faith or they're already years into their faith and they think they know it all and they got it all squared away. It doesn't matter where we're at in our faith. If we open up and we have a relationship with Christ and we have a relationship with God and we listen, it's incredible what could happen with just listening and having that conversation with God. And so honestly, my conversation with God actually came from anger. A lot of people go through, after tragedy like mine, they go through the why me God phase, right? I don't know anybody who hasn't gone through this phase. We've all asked that question once after a tragedy, at least once.
Yeah.
Most likely multiple times. But as I was driving around, I don't know if I had just gotten my prosthetics or if I was right before receiving my prosthetics, but I was driving around in my car and I, at this point, had enough. I was frustrated. The medications, honestly, were part of the reason why I was getting so frustrated and angry. Yeah. Because they mess with your mind.
Sure.
As much as they do the healing and the things that they're supposed to do, every medication has a side effect, right? So for me, the medications I was on were messing with my mind. And so I was irritable, I was upset, I could get angry extremely fast. And I was just tired of everything I was going through, the person I saw in the mirror. And at this point, I was just like, all right, God, what do you want from me? I did everything with my legs before this incident. I did basketball, I did sports, music. I played drums for 14 years or so. I did a lot of different things with my legs that I enjoyed doing, staying active. One of those being snowboarding in Wisconsin, which I absolutely miss. But I was so angry. I was like, what am I going to do now? What are you wanting me to do now? Because I have no legs. I can't do anything. And we get to that point where we get so low and why me and what do you want me to do now? And we don't tend to listen to what he's trying to tell us. Well, fortunately for me, I heard what he was trying to tell me. And he specifically told me loud and clear, go pick up a guitar. And I was like, what? I thought I was hearing things, but God was specifically telling me because I just asked him a question. And he knew that I needed that answer immediately. Sometimes he's patient with his answers to us, right? But he knew at that moment I needed that answer immediately because I was going to check out. I was ready to be like, all right, well, I got nothing to do here on this planet, so why even be here? He knew I needed that answer immediately. Go get a guitar. Okay. And then all of a sudden on my radio pops up the song Only a Mountain by Jason Castro. And the song talks about our situations being only a mountain. You tell it to move, it'll move. And God was telling me, speaking to me through this song, saying, look, your situation is only a mountain, but you can get past it. This is only a lower level stage of what you're going through. You're going to be able to move on and live life to the fullest. So go get that guitar. Sure enough, I'm like, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, but I'm going to the music store. And I put in the GPS, the closest guitar place, and I went and bought a guitar and an amp and a cable and picks and everything else you could get to learn how to play guitar and do all this stuff. And I had known maybe 3 chords at this point on guitar because I never really did it. I was a drummer. And so I was like, you know what? Since that song, Only a Mountain, was the song that honestly saved my life, and it got me through this hard time, and it pointed a direction at where I was supposed to turn and go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and learn that song as the first song that I learn on guitar.
And we say save your life because you were at a point to where you're like, there's no tomorrow, there's no purpose moving forward. We talked about this today, right? When do people, over 20 Veterans Day to take their life?
Yeah.
It's not because of maybe losing their legs or something bad happened to them. It's because they reach a point where there's no tomorrow. There's no purpose moving forward.
Yeah.
And God gives you this purpose. You don't know what it's going to be yet.
Yeah.
He gives you a purpose to do something through music and communicating and this song.
Yeah, so I honestly, because we're humans, so our mind is not capable of thinking such greatness and forward thinking. Yes, we can think about the future and all that stuff, but what I mean is, when he told me to grab a guitar and start all this, I was like, okay, this is going to be the therapy. This is going to be how I get through each day learning how to walk, learning how to use my prosthetics. The pain and torture that I was being put through to be able to use these things and move forward every day with my life. It's going to be my therapy. This is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy this.
God saw something much bigger.
God saw something way bigger than I could even imagine. And where he took it was outside my control. I learned the song, and God gave us each a passion, which is also the talent he gave us, right? So music is definitely a passion and a talent God gave me. I enjoy it so much, and I could do it all day long. I even get distracted with time, and I forget about stuff, and I'm just jamming and having fun. Well, I learned the song before I even go to bed that night and on guitar, and I decide, you know what, this song inspired me so much that I want to record it. I want to put it on YouTube with a video, and I want to inspire other people with this same song. So I go to the studio, the best studio that's in San Antonio, Texas, Chris Leak Studios, and he's like, yeah, let's record this. And even though I was brand new into music, I didn't really do any vocal lessons. I didn't do a lot of training on the other instruments that I played. I wanted to do it all by myself, and I recorded everything. I did the piano, the bass, the drums, the electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and then I sang. And we recorded a small music video of me doing this and recording the song. And I put on there some pictures of even when I was in the hospital and so on. And we put it on YouTube. And maybe a week later, I get a call. Now, mind you, I haven't done any gigs. I just learned that song, that one song.
Made a YouTube video.
And did a YouTube video. I get a call to go sing that song at the presidential inauguration in 2013. And I had just picked up the guitar in October of 2012. Yeah. So I'm only 3 months in of playing guitar and doing one song, and I'm supposed to be playing at a presidential inauguration.
For President Obama.
Yeah, for President Obama. I thought they called the wrong JP Lane. I was like,
it sounds like a famous name.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm pretty sure you got the wrong guy if you're wanting me to perform at a presidential inauguration. Yeah. They're like, you're the double amputee, right? The double amputee singer who was blown up in Afghanistan? Yes, that's definitely me. And you sing Only a Mountain? Yes. Yeah, you're the guy we want. Okay, I don't know if this is gonna be very well, but I'll go, I guess. And so my very first live gig ever was the presidential inauguration in 2013. And the crazy thing about that was that's my first one.
Right.
And God's saying, with that door being open, look at where you're starting. This is because of me.
Yeah.
But wait till you see where I take you. And at that moment, after I was done singing in DC, at that moment, I literally thought that my thought actually had switched from this is a therapy for me to God wants this to be a career. This is actually going to be what I do.
And now your purpose, right? You get purpose, you're going to have impact, you're going to have reach, you're going to be able to share a message to this platform.
Yeah.
So not just a therapy, but an actual platform.
Yeah.
And then he made it bipartisan, right? Because you went from President Obama to then you performed later on.
Four years later, singing at the next presidential inauguration for President Trump.
Yeah.
And every gig in between that has just been insane too. I mean, I've literally performed in Hawaii, in most of the United States, Mexico, Brazil, and then last year I had the opportunity to even go back to Afghanistan and perform for the troops over there.
That's incredible. How was that?
Oh, it was honestly, of every single event that I've ever done, Afghanistan, performing with my troops will always top everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be just incredible experience, and for you, not just serving, but for you personally to go back.
Yep.
And I mean, for me, it would have been like, hey, I'm still here. Right?
Still standing.
There was some of that, like going back to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Coming back on your own brand new feet.
Yeah.
And
it was
back there.
It was cool. I don't know if I told you, I might have mentioned to you, but I brought my favorite shirt back there. It says "Nice try, Taliban," and I had held it up, and they put me back in uniform for that trip.
That's
and
cool.
I held that shirt up walking down the lane where they had hundreds of troops welcoming us back to theater, and it was just amazing. I mean, getting to pretty much laugh at the face of the enemy and say, you did a good job, but it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Yeah.
And it showed them, hopefully, that my God is way stronger than anybody on this planet. And he gave me the strength to overcome and face my demons and even be able to go back.
Yeah. I want to use your journey that you just shared with us for a little side, almost like a side note, because as you're talking, I'm thinking, the work that we do at Mighty Oaks and the people we serve at Mighty Oaks that are struggling with things like, you hear your story, and if people aren't careful, they'll just hear, JP's story, a guy that got blown up by AD and had these just horrific injuries, but you can miss the fact that those guys in that vehicle with you, those guys that tied those tourniquets on your body. And I'm sure they were in panic trying to save their brother and saving you and getting you on a medevac, and the pilots that flew you there, and the people that transport you. Think of like the Air Force, the people that do the flying the C-17s that fly the aeromedical transport people, and all these people we see at Mighty Oaks is kind of like probably hundreds of people, doctors and people that were part of your story and their own journeys. Like, I mean, everybody you touched along the way, some of them probably from dealing with helping you have had their own struggles, their own journeys, their own and also have been inspired along the way. And it just like it makes me think of like this one incident like that, how many people are impacted,
right?
And what you do with that, what you have done with that, and turned around and just put an exclamation point on, this wasn't a tragedy. I love you kind of have said this in a lot of your messaging. This wasn't a tragedy; it was a triumph. Mm-hmm. Like, there's two ways to look at anything in your life. Always a different set of lenses to look at it. You could look at that incident as the most horrific thing of your life, or it could be the most incredible opportunity of your life to be able to be where you are today and inspiring people, bringing people to hope. Had you come back from that deployment, you'd have had a normal life. You'd had your legs.
Boring life. And
it's probably a tough question to ask you, and I don't even know your answer, and you may not say the answer I'm thinking, and whatever your answer is, but I have to ask, like, would you, if you could trade it, would you trade it?
No.
Yeah.
First off, the people that I've gotten to go back, and especially the medical people, it's so heartwarming. I can't put it in words. It's extremely tough without getting pretty sentimental, actually. But I've heard multiple times that the medical people who have seen me were so grateful and so thankful for meeting me, because all they got to see was the old guy who was limbless, jacked up, messed up, destroyed human being on his deathbed. That's all they got to see come through the hospital. They didn't get to turn around and have that same person they worked on come back and be like, I'm good. Yeah. By the way, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm tougher than I was before. Yeah. And you guys got to be a part of that. And getting to go back to Afghanistan was, and even here in the States, going back to the hospitals and getting to talk to doctors and nurses and everybody, it's inspirational for them. And I think more warriors should do it. Mm-hmm. Go talk to the staff, the medical staff, because like I said, they only get to see the bad. And that takes a toll on a heart and a brain.
Yeah. We have them end up at Mighty Oaks all the time. Like, I mean, we're not talking about guys that are searching for IDs or running infantry patrols. We have, a lot of medical care providers that end up at Mighty Oaks because they're struggling with, the not knowing the outcome of some of those cases and many losses that they have, So yeah, I really hats off to you for doing that, because that's very selfless of you to do that.
It's exciting actually to be able to go back and be like, look, you guys need to see the positivity.
Yeah.
Because we know that's all they're going through. It's just a whole lot of negative coming in and out of their, and like you said, they're even watching people die that they couldn't fix. And so it's devastating for them. And I encourage them to even go through and go out there and take a few minutes to just go find a warrior who he started off almost on going to a casket. He was on his deathbed, almost he or she were on their deathbed. They came through the hospital. It doesn't matter if they treated them or not. Find someone who went through that process, but now they're living a fulfilled, amazing life because those medical people were there to help put them back together. Because when they go and find that positivity, then it's going to wipe away the negative that they've been going through. It's going to clear away the thoughts of, man, I didn't get to save lives. I didn't get to heal this person. It doesn't matter how many people they have lost. Yeah, that is a sad situation, but they did get to fix one.
Yeah.
And all that matters is that one person that came through the hospital is now living in a great life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think we got a little treat for the viewers and listeners. JP brought his guitar.
Sure did.
and he's going to play for us. What are you going to play?
Well, since we talked about it, I'm sure the audience would love to hear Only a Mountain. And it's always one of the first songs I sing anyways, no matter where I go. Only because I want people to see the song that saved my life and apply it to their life. Whether they're going through a hard time, whether they're going through struggles right now, it doesn't matter what level their struggle is at. It doesn't have to be amputations and deathbeds and all that. They could be going through something at home with their families, whether it be a divorce or separation from kids. It doesn't matter. There's every person that's going through something can take this song and be uplifted by it, because whatever they're going through, whatever I went through, it's only a mountain, and we can get through it. We can get past it and move on and move forward in our life. So. Another day, another fight. It always feels like an uphill climb. Another step, another mile. The story of your life. It's harder than you ever thought, and it cost you everything you got. When you're back against the wall and you feel like giving up. This is only a mountain. You don't have to find your way around it. Tell it to move, it'll move. Tell it to fall, it'll fall. This is only a moment. You don't have to let your fear control it. Tell it to move, it'll move. Tell it to fall, it'll fall. You gotta find a second wind. It's not as high as you think it is. Don't give up, don't you quit. You gotta climb if you wanna win, yeah. And I know it looks big, and I know you feel small, but just a little bit of faith can change it all, change it all. This is only a mountain. You don't have to find your way around it. Tell it to move, it'll move. Tell it to fall, it'll fall. This is only a moment. You don't have to let your fear control it. Tell it to move, it'll move. Tell it to fall, it'll fall. Ask like you believe it. Trust like you can see it. Take your fear and say, there's nothing in your way, no. Even when it looks big, even when you feel small, it's just a little bit of faith can change it all. This is only a mountain. You don't have to find your way around it. Tell it to move, it'll move. Tell it to fall, it'll fall. This is only a moment. You don't have to let your fear control it. Tell it to move, it'll move. Tell it to fall, it'll fall. It's only a mountain, only a mountain, only a mountain, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a little bit of faith can change it all. It's only a mountain. Just a little bit of faith can change it all. It's only a mountain. Ooh, only a mountain.
Awesome, man.
Thank you.
That's good. It rocks, bro. Only a little faith to change it all, right?
Yeah, what's amazing too is out of the 28 surgeries that I had gone through, the doctor told my parents they destroyed his vocal cords when they took the tracheotomy out. So he's gonna talk funny for sure. He'll have to go through speech therapy, which I did. I had to learn how to talk again, and he'll never be able to sing. And I just wish I could have been there, like out of body experience, sitting next to God when they said that, because he probably started laughing a little bit, like, oh no. You might have damaged his vocal cords, but he's gonna sing because that's what I need him to do. So
he's gonna have a rasp in his voice now.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean,
that's awesome.
The miracles God is able to do for us, and all we got to do is say, God, I need your help.
You know that just a little bit of faith to move a mountain, right? You know, I think so many of us when we were at that dark moment, that moment you were in your car, and like there's no tomorrow, like that moment that I found myself in, years ago, sitting in my closet with a pistol in my hand, the moment that so many people face where they just feel so dark, and it only takes a little bit of faith. I mean, when you're in a dark place, you don't need a giant light, just a spark.
Yeah.
If you just see a spark, that's enough hope to go forward. And it's so true. You just, in those darkest moments, you don't need a whole lot. You just need a little bit of faith to be able to move on to the next day and the next day and the next day. And next thing you know, you're standing on this platform that God built, that God allowed you to be part of and build for you. So you got other things besides your music career and singing at the White House. You got a book you're putting out?
Yes.
Are you working on? How's that coming?
I am almost done. I'm so excited.
Title? What's the title?
The title is Walking Again.
Walking Again.
And I'm not even going to give away because I'm so excited about the idea. I don't want anybody to take it. But I'm just going to say the book cover is going to be sweet. It's going to definitely attract people to be like, I got to read this.
Hey, if anybody tries to take the title before it comes out, we'll go over and I'll put my jiu-jitsu on and we'll go choke some people out.
Yeah, we both know jiu-jitsu. I will gladly pull it out. So
Walking Again. Yeah. That's going to be a title, so keep a lookout for it.
Yeah.
JP Lane, follow his story. I'm gonna let him plug his all the social media outlets and website. You can go ahead and let us know where we can follow you and keep track of you. Follow the work you're doing on your website, and the people that want to support the efforts that you're part of. We want to definitely be able to point people to support you.
Right.
So go ahead and let us have it.
Yeah. So to follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff, you'll be able to just type JP Lane Official, and they'll be able to find me there. We're actually about a week or so out of revamping. We're redoing my website. I'm very excited about that as well. So even changing the website link title to jpsjourney.com. And so they'll be able to...
Can you spell out JP's Journey?
Yeah, JPS Journey, JOURNEY.com. Oh, I'm a dictionary. My wife's always telling me, how do you spell this? How do you spell that?
So by the time this podcast airs, guys, this website will be live.
Yep.
And definitely check out jpsjourney.com. Follow his story, follow him on social media, and just amazing story, JP. I'm super proud of you. Thankful that God crossed our paths to get to know you, and I just pray that we could continue to serve together.
Thank you.
I think this weekend was just a part of it. Yeah. And so definitely going to look forward to the book and the many things to come.
Yes.
And so
thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to see what God has in store for us in the future.
Absolutely. Well, hey, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share. Definitely share this episode, because I believe this episode, as you share it to others, it'll bring some hope and encouragement. You never know who's going to be listening and what this amazing message of JP's Journey will do to impact their life and their own struggles and battle to move forward. God bless, and see you soon.